The Wendigo. For centuries, indigenous communities in northern Canada told stories of the Wendigo, a spirit associated with starvation, winter, and cannibalism. In 1878 to 1879, a Cree trapper named Swift Runner returned from an isolated winter camp without his family. When questioned, he confessed that hunger drove him to kill and eat his wife and children. He had access to emergency supplies nearby, but never sought help. Elders recognized this as a real-world reflection of Wendigo psychosis, a condition where a person becomes convinced they are turning into a cannibalistic creature. Swift Runner was arrested and executed at Fort Saskatchewan. His case became one of the first documented instances in which a traditional folklore concept was used to describe a psychological and criminal event. It reinforced the cultural belief that the Wendigo was not only a mythic being, but a warning for the dangers of isolation, starvation, and desperation. Vampire panic, the Mercy Brown incident. In 19th century New England, tuberculosis outbreaks were poorly understood, leading to beliefs that the dead were draining life from the living. In 1892 in Exeter, Rhode Island, multiple members of the Brown family died in quick succession. Villagers suspected vampirism. When the body of 19-year-old Mercy Brown was exhumed, they found that her corpse appeared unusually preserved. Her heart was removed and burned, and the ashes were mixed into a drink for her sick brother to cure him. He later died anyway. Modern medicine explains that Mercy's preserved condition was due to winter cold delaying decomposition, but at the time, the incident fueled widespread belief in vampires across the region. Newspaper coverage spread the story internationally, influencing early vampire literature. The Mercy Brown case is considered one of the strongest historical links between folklore-based vampire superstition and real recorded medical responses during infectious disease outbreaks. The Werewolf Trials. Peter Stumpp. European folklore told of men transforming into wolves under curses or deals with dark forces. In 1589, a German farmer named Peter Stumpp was arrested after decades of unexplained livestock mutilations and disappearances. Under interrogation, Stumpp confessed to practicing witchcraft and claimed he owned a belt given to him by the devil that allowed him to transform into a wolf. Authorities said they found bones from missing villagers on his property. Stumpp was executed along with his daughter and mistress. Historians later noted that Stumpp lived during periods of intense religious conflict, and confessions were often extracted under torture. However, the documented killings and disappearances associated with him suggest a real serial predator was active. His trial became one of the earliest widely reported cases where criminal acts were directly interpreted through the lens of folkloric werewolf traditions in rural communities. The Changeling Belief. Bridget Cleary. In Old Irish folklore, fairies were said to replace humans with changelings who behaved strangely or became sick. In 1895, Bridget Cleary, a young woman from County Tipperary, became ill with what doctors later believed was pneumonia. Her husband, Michael Cleary, insisted she had been replaced by a fairy. Over several days, he and relatives forced rituals intended to drive out the changeling, including burning herbs and forcing her to drink mixtures. Eventually, Bridget was killed in a fire during one of these attempts. Her disappearance and later discovery of her body caused nationwide shock. Newspapers reported the event as evidence of lingering rural superstition in the modern era. The case became a documented instance where an ancient folkloric belief directly influenced real actions, demonstrating how myth could still govern behavior even when medical explanations existed. The Dybbuk, the Jewish possession box. Jewish folklore describes the Dybbuk as a restless spirit that attaches to a living person. In the early 2000s, an antique wine cabinet gained attention after multiple owners reported illness, nightmares, and unexplained phenomena. The box was traced to a woman who had survived the Holocaust and believed the cabinet held a malevolent presence. A former owner claimed objects inside included locks of hair and a carved prayer to prevent spirits from returning. When the story circulated online and later sold at auction, researchers investigated its origins. Historical accounts confirm that during periods of trauma, especially in Eastern Europe, objects were sometimes ritually used as spiritual containers meant to confine disturbing memories or energies. Although scientific tests found no supernatural cause, the case demonstrated how the Dybbuk concept had roots in real cultural coping practices developed under extreme conditions. Zombie folklore. Clairvius Narcisse. Haitian folklore teaches that sorcerers can turn people into zombies through magic. In 1962, a man named Clairvius Narcisse was declared dead and buried. 18 years later, he appeared alive in his home village, identifying relatives and recalling past events. Records confirmed his original death certificate. Researchers working with Haitian physicians later connected the case to tetrodotoxin, a toxin found in pufferfish, capable of inducing deep paralysis and extremely slow breathing that could be mistaken for death. After burial, individuals could be unearthed and administered hallucinogenic plant substances to maintain disorientation and compliance. Narcisse stated he had been forced to work on a plantation under the control of a local bokor, sorcerer. His case provided documented evidence that some elements of zombie folklore corresponded to real pharmacological and social practices rather than supernatural resurrection. The Beast of Gévaudan. Between 1764 and 1767, the French region of Gévaudan reported over 100 attacks by a creature described as a massive wolf-like beast. Witnesses said it moved differently from normal animals and targeted humans rather than livestock. The French crown sent soldiers and professional hunters, and reports circulated internationally. Modern researchers believe the attacks were carried out by unusually aggressive wolves, or possibly a trained hybrid animal. At the time, the event fueled widespread fear and religious interpretation, linking the creature to demonic folklore. Official accounts ended when a large wolf was killed in 1767 and declared to be the beast. The Bell Witch Haunting. In Tennessee during the early 19th century, the Bell family reported persistent knocking, voices, and physical disturbances in their home. Neighbors and local clergy documented hearing unexplained sounds, and the entity was described as speaking and interacting with visitors. The disturbances continued for years and centered particularly on John Bell, who later died under circumstances that some attributed to the entity. While folklore developed describing the haunting as supernatural, historians noted ongoing property disputes, community tensions, and illnesses in the region that may have contributed to the events. Written records from the time confirm that multiple witnesses described the same experiences. The Old Hag, sleep paralysis. Across cultures, people reported waking at night unable to move, sensing a presence sitting on their chest. This figure was called the Old Hag. Similar descriptions appear in Japanese, Egyptian, Nigerian, and Scandinavian folklore. In 20th century sleep research, the phenomenon was identified as sleep paralysis, when the brain awakens before the body's motor system, creating vivid hallucinations and physical immobility. The presence of a pressing figure and the sensation of suffocation are common neurological responses during the transition between dream and waking states. Historical accounts demonstrate how a single biological phenomenon produced consistent folklore worldwide. Medical documentation now explains the event as part of REM sleep function, but the folklore persisted because the experience could feel physically real and terrifying. Skinwalker legends and historical witchcraft accusations. In Navajo tradition, a skinwalker is a witch who gains the ability to transform or move unnaturally through the misuse of spiritual practices. These stories were not originally told to entertain, but to warn against harming the community. During the 19th and early 20th centuries, records from reservation courts and federal agencies document cases where individuals were accused of causing illness or death through malevolent rituals. Some accusations led to violence or exile. Anthropologists who studied the region noted that these events reflected real social conflicts, justice systems, and systems of belief regarding spiritual responsibility. The term was later adopted outside its cultural context and distorted into modern horror stories.